Oh, beautiful. You okay? You okay? Where's the lobster? Oh, oh my god. Ah.
What's kilo?
How much? One kilo?
How much a kilo?
2,950? 2 million. Beautiful. Oh my god. Hey everybody, here's a video from my recent vacation. I'm in Vietnam, and I'll tell you in a minute why I chose Vietnam as my vacation destination. But first, let's take a closer look at this restaurant. I'm at Nhà hàng Lang Ca, and that's about the best I can do as far as pronouncing the restaurant's name. This is a very famous and well-known restaurant in Da Nang, Vietnam. Some people consider this place to be one of the best in Da Nang, and you could probably find cheaper seafood elsewhere. However, this place has some of the biggest and most extensive seafood collection you could find. Some of the things I saw made me think that I was at SeaWorld or a marine habitat. They had all kinds of things, and some of the things I've only seen on TV. I definitely don't see the things I find here in Las Vegas. Like live moray eels? Is that a moray eel? It appears to be a moray eel. At the beginning of the video, you saw some sharks. I mean, there are all kinds of things here. You pick the items that you want to eat, and then the kitchen prepares it. I was excited to try some of the things I've never tried before. These are things that I normally wouldn't see where I'm from. Mantis shrimp. Some of the other ones that looked really exotic. Giant scallops, mud crabs, spotted crabs, king crab, lobsters from all over. They even had things that I wouldn't want to try, but they had lobster.
$790.
One.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, one.
Sashimi.
Yeah. Two oyster. Two.
Chị nói giùm em cái số.
So why did I choose Vietnam as my vacation destination? It all started in high school when I tried pho for the first time. Pho is the Vietnamese rice noodle, which is so popular all over the world. The flavors were astonishing and it quickly became an addiction of mine. There's actually an 800 number if you have a problem. Just kidding. Since then, I've discovered other dishes, other kinds of noodles, other kinds of soups, incredible meats, rice rolls, rice cakes, all kinds of stuff. Whatever I tried, they all had a common denominator, and that was incredible flavor. The most amazing and intense flavors. From then on, I started watching YouTube videos, and I found there were tons of digital nomads, YouTubers, expats living in Vietnam. I started doing research and watching more travel videos on Vietnam and discovered that this place had incredible things to offer at really cheap prices. For instance, the hotels here are incredible. You can get a really nice and clean 3 to 4 star hotel for between $7 and $40 a night. And you can find 5-star hotels for very affordable prices. This is an extremely huge corner suite with both an ocean view and a city view. They had 2 TVs on both sides of the wall. The whole place was about 957 square feet. Incredible, spacious, right across from the beach. And this is cheaper than a Motel 6 in California. And this is just one of many mind-blowing hotels that I've discovered during this trip, like the Lotte Hotel in Hanoi, the 3rd tallest building in all of Vietnam, and the tallest hotel in Vietnam. The hotel concept, coming from the Vietnamese traditional wear, the Ao Yai or the Ao Zai as pronounced in the north. Long and slender, shooting up into the sky, incredible. Literally, this place has everything. They have residences, a hotel. They have a really nice department store selling brand name products. A market in the basement, which has everything. They have a food court. You don't need to go to a convenience store. The Lotte Center also has an observation deck where you can view the whole city from the sky. It doesn't revolve like the Stratosphere here in Las Vegas, but it's incredibly high and majestic. You have to buy tickets to go up, but it's not that expensive. And once you're up there, you can buy drinks, you can take pictures, and you can walk on air. And another very impressive hotel is called the Vin Pearl Resort and Spa. This is owned by one of the most prestigious groups in Vietnam, the Vin Group. A beautiful hotel with some of the best scenery and the nicest staff I've ever met. To check into this hotel, you'll go to the reception building on the mainland, because the hotel is actually on its own island. They have these boats that take you back and forth, and they run 24/7, every 15 to 20 minutes. The service at this hotel was impeccable. I loved the service, I loved the scenery. It was just an incredible feeling. The whole building was luxurious, gave you the feeling of being in a grand ballroom or something even bigger than that. A castle maybe, a mansion on steroids. Unbelievable. And because it's on an island, you've got private beaches on all 4 sides of the hotel. And did I mention they have the biggest swimming pools that I've ever seen. As good as everything looks, not everybody has the same experience, so I do recommend you read the reviews if you're planning on staying here. My experience was excellent, a true 5-star experience. They have an incredible buffet for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they have a couple of other restaurants as well. They can even set you up on the beach for a barbecue and a seafood night. And for those of you who really follow my channel, if you saw the short, this is where I had the tomahawk steak in Vietnam. I was very impressed by the food at the buffet for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They had a wide variety of food, international as well as traditional Vietnamese food. Every hotel I went to had really good food, even room service, available 24 hours a day. This was a perfectly cooked ribeye steak at Lotte Hotel in Saigon. Some hotels even have a spectacular view, so while you're having your breakfast buffet, you can just enjoy the scenery. Now back here in Da Nang, the scenery wasn't as pleasant because central Vietnam was hit by a typhoon and the aftermath, which brought heavy rains. But I wasn't hindered in any way during my vacation. I got to do everything I wanted to do. And one of the things that I wanted to do was to have a seafood feast. I really liked this seafood sauce. The greenish sauce, it kind of had a lemon taste, a lime taste with a seafood base. It was a wonderful sauce. It accompanied everything so perfectly. We got a couple of clams because the clams looked huge and because they were something that I don't usually get to have in Las Vegas. And these were really plump. Some of them were really large. But I didn't order too many of the clams, just a few. They didn't have much other than beer and wine. If you wanted something stronger, they sell you the whole thing, the whole bottle. Here is a claw or a pincher from the mantis prawn, the mantis shrimp. This is something very unusual to me. The shrimp itself was really firm, very muscular. If Arnold Schwarzenegger was a shrimp, he'd be a mantis shrimp. I did get a crab. I'm not sure exactly what type of crab it is. The legs look pretty meaty, the claws in particular. We had a little salad. The thing that stood out to me the most was the sea grapes. This was my first time trying these also. The mantis shrimp I really liked. It kind of gave me the feeling that I was eating a lobster. Now they also have side dishes that you can order. You can get vegetables stir-fried or sauteed with seafood, and I believe they also had rice available. They had a few different kinds of mantis shrimp. Some of them differed in color and varied in size. I didn't get the gigantic ones because they can get pretty expensive. Now, normally food in Vietnam is very cheap. If you go for Vietnamese food, you can find Vietnamese food for under $1, and in restaurants $2 to $4. $5 to $6, you're living large. But if you're getting international food or seafood, it can get pricey. But I found the food prices in Vietnam to be cheaper than anywhere else that I had been, including Thailand, which I thought was really cheap. The crab had a good amount of meat in it, and the sauce, I just loved that sauce, the seafood sauce, the green sauce. It was so good. Now, as far as comparing it to snow crab, I probably will say I like fresh snow crab better, but still, this was excellent. Crab is crab, it's good. And if you like clams, this is the place for you. There are so many varieties of clams to choose from. I would say it's probably the most extensive display of seafood that I had ever experienced. I don't believe the crab came pre-cracked. I think we requested that they open it or crack it in the back. I can't remember because I was kind of focusing on filming, but at the same time having a little fun, enjoying seafood in stormy weather. I think the seafood made the stormy weather better. But I didn't mind the stormy weather because it never rains where I live in Las Vegas. It only rains a few times a year. So any type of variety in the weather was a good experience for me. I was kind of enjoying it. This seafood restaurant was kind of like a large super buffet in Las Vegas where they have so much food that there's no way you can try all of them. They had tons of fish and they had all kinds of other seafood. We didn't really get those because we came for the king crab, the lobster, and some of the clams and the shrimp, which they peeled for you at tableside. The service was excellent. And we didn't want to get too full because the main courses were coming, and that's a lot of seafood. And finally, it was time. Believe it or not, the lobster and king crab were the main reasons why I came to Vietnam. Just kidding, I lied. But only partially because I really did want lobster and king crab. People come for the street food and the traditional Vietnamese food, the banh mi, the pho, the noodles, and I love those too, don't get me wrong. But I really wanted to experience seafood in Da Nang, and that's what I got. King crab and lobster. This is a lot of meat, and I will tell you off the bat, we did not finish it. But this kind of stuff you can take home, and it'd be just fine. This was my first experience breaking down a whole king crab myself. Usually when I have king crab, they're split already because the legs are so large. They just saw them in half, and you just use your fork and take them out. I found the scissors to be extremely effective in just cutting through the shell and in removing the gills. Whatever I needed to do, all I needed was a pair of scissors. The biggest difference between snow crab and king crab to me is the amount of meat. Also the flavor, much better flavor in my opinion. But the meat, even if it's just a little crack or a crevice or a knuckle or a joint, there's so much meat in the king crab. I was having a lot of fun just tearing into it, sometimes just using my teeth, using my method that I use on snow crab. The scissors came in really handy, especially for the thicker parts of the leg. Just cut through the shell, split the leg open, and you can just pull the meat out. About this time, I was kind of craving drawn butter. because that's just a steakhouse experience inside of me that will never go away. But in the meantime, that green sauce was a great substitute. The scissors even cut through the thicker shells of the claw part. Now, sometimes I know that the king crab does get a softer shell. Today, it was as hard as it could be, but the scissors were very effective in splitting the shell open to get to the meat. And there was a lot of meat. As far as the mustard goes, I've never really had the mustard of a king crab, but it was pretty good.
So big. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Oh my God. Oh, what is that? Oh my God.
You can see a lot of meat in this lobster. It was a big lobster to me, but there were bigger ones, much bigger ones. And same for the king crab. There were much bigger king crab than the one I got. But I was happy with this. First of all, that's a lot of meat. You're talking about 2 to 4 pounds of meat. This was seafood paradise for me. Tons of king crab meat, tons of lobster meat. What more could you ask for? Maybe a little sunshine, but that's about it. And you all know from watching my videos that I get my share of seafood here in Las Vegas. But this experience to Vietnam was amazing. And this seafood experience in Vietnam happens to be one of my best ever. At the beginning of the meal, I thought I could finish the king crab and the lobster, and especially sharing with another person, but there was so much meat. The king crab is surprisingly deceiving because there's more meat than what it looks like on the outside. You keep finding meat, like I said, in every part of the crab. There's so much meat. And the lobster was no joke either. The shrimp, the clams, they all started to add up, and I was pretty full. My vacation turned out better than I expected. It was like dreamy. Everything was so good, even the rainy weather. Although I do feel sympathy for all the people that went through the struggles in the city. Later that night was another big flood, and one person died, I believe. And the tourist city of Hoi An, the ancient city, that place was completely underwater, I thought, but it turns out it was only one section of the city. You'll see that in the upcoming video. But all things come to an end, even vacations, and even this video. So that's gonna do it for me at this Village Seafood restaurant. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.